So you've just bought yourself a second-hand vehicle. Now if you're a do-it-yourself maintenance type of person, then I'm going to run through a few things that I personally like to do with any new vehicle I've purchased. Well, not necessarily new, but like I said, second-hand. So let's dive into it. So my son has recently purchased this BMW 120D. Now, our initial purchase inspections, it looks pretty good, but when you're inspecting a vehicle, you can never quite check everything, or an owner might not be comfortable with you doing certain things. So if the initial checks out good, then I'd say when you get it back home to your own workshop, look, I'd probably generally run within sort of like the first month of ownership. I like to run through all these things. Now generally I'll start up the front by removing any engine covers or any plastic pieces, just so you can get a really decent look at basically all the pipes, a bit closer look at the engine, just check out for any leaks, anything that's not quite right. Now while we're checking everything under the engine as well, now this is going to be getting a service, so an engine oil and oil filter change, but I'm just going to have a look at the air cleaner now. The location on your vehicle may vary obviously between makes and models, but just interestingly, like this is just done, like say, it's a little bit over 190,000 Ks. Service records for this particular car aren't too bad. They're actually been, pretty much everyone's been done. But the last time the air filter was noted as being changed was at 93,000 Ks. So I'm gonna have a look at that and see what it looks like. So you can see the air filter on this car is buried down here. That is normally white. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, it is pretty filthy. But it is, I'll probably change it out the next service to be honest, but there's quite a bit involved to change this one out. Unlike probably many air filters, this is not as simple as they normally are. So it's not 100% necessary, but the cabin air filter, I've had to check this now. This one lives up at the top of the engine cowl over here, and I think you agree this is probably one of the biggest cabin filters I've ever seen. Normally they're within the glove box compartment, they're hidden in there, so they're pretty easy to check. This one's not too bad. Looks in pretty good nick. Looks like it's probably only been replaced fairly recently, I'd say, by the look of it. So this one's all good. Now I've previously checked the coolant level, and that's not too bad. I'm not going to open this up right now because obviously the engine's hot, and we don't open those up while they're hot. But some coolant test strips are not a bad idea, just to check the condition of your coolant. So these will generally give an indication of acidity level and also like a glycol level. They're pretty simple check. If your coolant's looking discoloured, then it's a good idea to change it out anyway. But these are a real easy way just to give it a quick once over, so give you a rough idea what the condition is. While we're also in here, power steering fluid level. These are in a black container, well, a black reservoir, so you can't really see the oil condition as such. What I do recommend is if you have like a syringe, you can just open it up, suck a bit out, gives you a good idea of the indication of the colour that fluid is at. So just suck this up with a decent syringe. I'll put it back, but you can see that condition is pretty dark. So this could probably do with a future change out. Yeah, so power steering fluid really is a forgotten fluid a lot of times in most vehicles. It never gets touched. So I recommend changing it probably at least every 100,000 Ks generally. Anyway, moving on, probably really the final thing we got left on the bonnet now is just having a look at the brake fluid. So on this car, it's just up on the side here. One-handed, fun times. We'll just basically have a look at the reservoir. I'll have a quick look at the colour. Obviously the level's alright. It looks okay, but generally I recommend changing brake fluid every 2 years. If you got DOT3 every year, I recommend to change out. If you have DOT4 every 2 years. The main difference is, from my understanding, DOT3, well, all brake fluids are hygroscopic, which means they absorb moisture, but DOT 3 is a lot more susceptible to moisture, which is why it has a more regular change out. So I would do those on age and not kilometres. Okay, with the basics under the bonnet taken care of, now it's time, we're going to jack this up. Going to basically check the play, suspension condition of all 4 tyres, bearing, see if there's any movement in the bearings, in the wheel bearings. Crawl underneath it, have a good look for any oil leaks, anything that's out of place. I'm going to pull the wheels off as well and check all the brake pad thicknesses. I think this is a really good thing just to check it initially so you know where you're at. Fortunately or unfortunately, the previous owner let me know that the rear brake pads on this will probably be due at the next service, so I've got some new pads and they're going to be thrown in. The discs do look a little worn, so I'm probably going to have to measure those for a minimum disc rotor thickness and go from there as well. The previous owner had made note that the rear brakes on this need doing, so just had a look at these and the pads are okay, but the rotors are a fair bit worn now. I've just measured them up and they're actually just below the minimum thickness. So a lot of brake discs, you'll find the minimum thickness is actually imprinted on them somewhere. The BMW here is just imprinted there, minimum thickness 18.4 millimeters. So it's an easy way to check. And to be honest, in 20 odd years of playing with my own cars, this is the first rotor I've ever actually seen that's been below minimum thickness. Most of my rotors I never see basically any wear on them. So yeah, anyway, well, it's another future date change out. And while we got the wheels off, it is a good opportunity to just check out all your suspension bushes, just maybe get a pry bar and all of them, make sure there's no abnormal movement, check all your shocks, make sure they're not leaking. Yeah, just again, more things, it's just a general mechanical check. While you got the tyres off as well, it's a good time just to check out the tread face, make sure there's nothing unusual going on. Basically on all 4 tyres, just make sure they're all in good condition. If you're wondering why it's a good idea to check all the circumference of the tread face, sometimes you find surprises like this that you kind of miss on initial inspection. So these tyres haven't got the most tread, which was kind of the initial inspection, but you can see this all the way across and it even just sort of starts into the sidewall. So yeah, that's not a tyre I'd trust. Now, depending on whether you got front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, well, this is rear wheel drive, but just check out the condition of all your CV boots. Normally they'll be either side of your trans or your diff. So over there, 2 on each side. No biggie. I'm going to be changing the diff oil on this as well. Unfortunately, these things don't have a drain plug, so I was thinking this back cover will have to come off, but it's obviously the back of the diff bolts up to the cross member, or subframe should I say. So I'll probably just try and suck it out from the fill plug, will probably be the most successful method. Now while the engine oil is draining out for the service, probably a good idea to rip off any bash plates under the transmission or under the engine, just so you can have a look, make sure there's no oil leaks or anything, any surprises like that. So I'm just going to do the transmission on this one first. I don't have much room to work with because I don't have a lift and it's just the car ramp. Obviously a bit of oil weeping out of this. Now I'm not too concerned about this because I'm going to do a trans flush on this sometime in the future. So I'm going to be dropping that pan, new filter, all that lay gear. So yeah, but that there is the fuel filter, so we are going to change that. Now when it comes to fuel filters, if you've got a petrol, this thing's 190,000 Ks, a similar age petrol probably may not have a filter change ever been done on the, and that's mainly because a lot of these, the fuel filter will be an in-tank jobby. This being a diesel, however, you'll find it'll probably be an external, easily, or a lot more easily serviceable item. As I've pointed out in this one, it's just under the chassis. It's a pretty easy cartridge to change out by the look of it, so that I'm going to do. So look, I think that covers a lot of basics here. You know, obviously front brakes, I'm going to check those as well. Haven't yet done that on camera. So this is just part of the general inspections and service you do for a vehicle that's new to you. It's a really good idea to have that solid picture in your head about where the vehicle's at in terms of its previous maintenance, not only from your service history but also from your physical inspection. That physical inspection can probably tell you a lot. I recommend doing an oil change on the engine normally pretty quickly when I have a vehicle, and that's mainly because I've had vehicles purchased with good service history and I've taken an oil sample of the engine oil and it hasn't been changed for a long time, just judging by the sample alone. So don't always trust what's in a service history logbook. Now, if you're interested in any specific videos coming up with this BMW, please subscribe to the channel because I'll be doing a few more probably in the next service. Not so much this one because I want to smash this job out, but for this video I just really wanted to give that overview of things to look out for, just in general, not specifically for this vehicle. So I'm going to film the fuel filter change because that is something that's probably going to take a while for me to get around to again, because I'd recommend doing those, you know, probably every 40 to 50,000 Ks at sort of max, really depending on where your use of the vehicle is. Four-wheel drives possibly sooner, just because you might be getting crappy fuel wherever you're going. But for a city vehicle, probably that 40-50,000 Ks is perfectly serviceable. And these particular fuel filters for this vehicle is actually a pretty decent sized unit. So yeah, that's that's about that size. I mean, it's not bad for a little 2-litre diesel. I'm going to stick this in, so if you want to see how to do a fuel filter change on the BMW 120D, go check out the video link here and I'll see you then.